it's Jen. Jen Lehner is live. Okay, there we go.
Oh, she's not listening, is she?
Hey, we're recording. Here we go, everyone. Hi, we are Mike and Kit Gardner from InfuseTheHappy.com, and this is our first Blab. So thank you for being supportive of us. And it might be a trial and error experience. So thank you for being here and being patient. We hope that you'll hold out to the end. It should be a fun conversation. This is my husband, Mike.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Leah.
And today our guest is the awesome Leah Harvath, one of my very best friends. And she's been amazing. We've been friends for many years. She's been a part of all kinds of businesses, owned lots of businesses, an organizing business. She used to make homemade cookies. We spent lots of time doing cookie dough.
Those were great.
Those are awesome, weren't they?
Especially the chocolate ones. Salted
chocolate, girl. Those are amazing. We need a cookie party. She's done a lot with essential oils, super knowledgeable in that, and currently runs a website called fabulousfarmgirl.com. So you all have to go there. It's amazing. So Leah, there's your little introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself that I didn't cover, like about your family and all that stuff.
Gosh. Okay. I've been married for 17 years. I have 3 kids, 3 boys. That my youngest is 12 and my oldest is 18. And they keep us hopping for sure. Like you said, I've had several businesses over the years trying to find my niche and what I'm most passionate about, and we'll probably talk a little bit about that. But so I've got a lot of experience with working and trying to be a mom at the same time, just like you do, Kit, and how that plays out. Sometimes for good, sometimes not for so good, depending. I've done it well and I've done it not so well, I think, at different times. So, but I love to try new things, and my current business is mostly done online, which I really enjoy, and I've learned a lot. When you think you're too old to learn something, you're really not, because I have learned an entire other end of marketing and computers and tech and all this crazy stuff that I never thought I would learn or want to learn, and so. I'm definitely proof that you don't have to be a young spring chicken necessarily to start a business. And in fact, I think that when women are older, a little bit, not old, but a little bit
more mature
experience. Yeah, more mature. There you go. When they have some, experience in life, I think it actually helps. And you can bring that experience and make transitioning into a new job or a new business a little bit easier, I think, in some ways. Otherwise, I blog in what's called the homesteading niche. So we love to work our backyard. We just live in town, but we have chickens and bees and a huge garden. We just got a greenhouse that we haven't set up yet, but it's sitting in my living room right now in a box. So I'm excited this weekend to get that set up.
That's awesome! Yay!
Yeah, I'm really excited. So we try to be farmers, even though we're just in town. And my middle son definitely thinks he's a farmer. And so we try to make the best of the situation. We'd love to have property, but we don't. So we just a few years ago decided that we weren't going to wait for that magical, huge property to show up. We were just going to farm our backyard. So that's what we're doing. We love that. We love the outdoors, go hiking. We live in a beautiful, beautiful part of the country where hiking is not just literally steps outside of our door. So in the summer, we love to go outside and do that kind of stuff, and really take advantage of the beauty that we are lucky enough to live in here in Utah. So I don't know. What else do you want to know? That seems like I love to cook. We love to eat. We're all about food and trying to be all healthy. Now, I'm not super healthy, but just kind of we work step by step. I don't like to claim that we're like fanatics, because we're not, and I don't believe in being fanatics on anything. So, yeah. But we try every day to take a step towards being healthier and more natural, and knowing where food comes from and knowing what's in our products. And that's what I blog about mostly, is helping people to just get rid of the crap and the junk that is in our lives. And we all have a lot that we can get rid of. So that's what I try and blog about and help people do.
Well, you don't just try. You totally succeeded. Awesome.
Wait, well, I never want to act like I can't do better, because we can always improve.
Okay. We can always do better. right?
Yeah. I was eating those chocolate cookies last night at about 11 o'clock. So.
Why didn't you call us? We'd have totally been there.
Because then you would have eaten them all.
Come at midnight, you know it.
I know you were up. Yeah, I should have thought about it.
Well, the reason that we asked you to come, and not that you're, just because you're one of our friends, but because you're an amazing mom, and you have 3 awesome boys. We have 4 kids, and they're right around the same ages. We have a daughter that's 16, a son that's 15, and a daughter that's 12, and a daughter that's 10. And Leah has these 3 boys, and so they've grown up together for quite a few years. And I've just always noticed what kind of a great mom you are, and a great example and role model you are to me, especially as you grow and work these businesses, because I've always had this creative part of me that I like to do new things and start new businesses, and poor Mike has to go for the ride.
It's all good.
This time, luckily, he's totally all a part of it, and he's home working with us, as a unit here and doing this. But I just wanted to talk about that. And I know that you have lots of girlfriends, and I want to know what you think that the modern mom is feeling right now. Like, are there things that are really in the forefront right now for them? What are they dealing with?
Honestly, I think it's just overwhelm. I think, and I don't think it's modern. I think this has been the case for moms since the beginning of time. That it's always the same thing. It's always overwhelm. It's always having too much on your plate and feeling like you can't get it all done. And whatever you want to do for yourself is, of course, pushed to the very bottom of that to-do list, if it even gets on the list at all. And I think we want our kids to be happy and have everything that we didn't have, whatever that means. And we want, the people in our community to be able to rely on us when they always ask us to do things. There's that saying that if you want something done, ask the busiest person you know. Well, we all are the busiest people we know. And so we end up saying, we can't say no to anything. This is a very typical problem with women, especially. And maybe it is for men too. I don't know, Mike might want to jump in on that. But I have a hard time still saying no. I'm getting a little bit better, but then we feel guilty. And there's just lots of things that we put on ourselves that I don't even know if it's society that does as much as we do it to ourselves. And I want my kids to be happy. I want my husband to be happy and successful. And I want my friends to, be able to rely on me. So we just end up taking on too much and not knowing how to say no, and not knowing where to put the energy, because generally the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So, and there's a lot of squeaky wheels out there in our lives. We all have tons and tons of squeaky wheels. Sometimes it's your kids, sometimes it's your husband, sometimes it's your business, sometimes it's your employees or your coworkers or your boss if you work a job. Everybody wants some. That's what I always say. Everybody wants a piece of me. And you end up just spreading yourself too thin. And not only is that bad from a stress standpoint and just an overall, peace and happiness standpoint, it's bad for your health. We end up getting sick, or we end up being tired all the time, or we end up just not feeling very motivated. And in the worst case scenarios, and this has not been a problem I've ever had, but I do have friends who suffer from this, it even can turn into things like depression and anxiety and those sorts of things. So I think the biggest problem we have is the problem women have had since, like I said, since the beginning of time, which is just trying to do everything for everybody.
Well, I know that I tried that for many, many years when I was running one of my businesses, our business, and it ran me into the ground and landed me in the doctor's office. And it was very shocking that I had done that to myself, and that was never my intention, never my desire to work till I dropped. It just wasn't. And I know you were going to say something. What were you going to say?
I don't remember, but.
Oh. We keep talking and then forget what they were going to say.
Yeah, we have a short memory.
And I will say, it's interesting because that's a job that was a career you started, your own business, which was something that you love doing. And that's often the case. Sometimes it's not that we are doing something we hate. It's that we just don't know how to schedule ourselves and be realistic with ourselves, or bring on help when we need it, because we think we can do it all. And so that's a good example of, sometimes it's something that you love and you really want to do, and you still killed yourself in the process trying to do it all, trying to be a one-woman show, which is what we all try to do at different points, right? We all try to do it all.
you don't even have to own a business to do that. You can just be an over the top mom, right? Like I was thinking to myself, because I do kind of suffer from that creative crazy hair, that could have been channeled into my children. And probably most people would say, well, maybe you should have. And not that I didn't. I mean, we still have amazing times. But I think you can overdo it as a parent too. Like I was looking at this thing on Facebook the other day that was saying something about, it was yesterday and it was St. Patrick's Day and they were talking about the stupid leprechauns. Like, what else do we have to do? We have to do Elf on the Shelf. We have to do the Easter Bunny. There's so many different things we have to do. So you can be overwhelmed even if you don't have a job outside the home, because trust me, we understand that being a mom is a full-time job.
And I will say a lot of people, this is the age of the helicopter mom, and this is the age of the overprivileged children. I mean, this generation is more privileged than any other generation probably in the history of the universe. And not because we have more money, but because we as moms have put the pressure on each other. So we're all trying to keep up with what everyone else is doing. And my kid's in 25 different sports. Therefore, I talk about it all the time, and they're winning all these awards and they're going to be professional athletes. And then every other mom around me, this is, by the way, not me. My kid's not in any sports, but I mean, there's this pressure like that you have to now be that mom that you spend your entire life, doing things for your kids. And of course, we do need to do things for our kids, but I'm not that old. As a kid, my mom never did any of that for us. We entertained ourselves. We went out and found friends to play with. We signed up for sports at school, and you just went after school and played. I don't remember there being anyone that I knew that was in a competitive league. Mm-hmm. And now these kids are starting at 3, 4 years old. And if they don't, what other moms will tell you is, oh, they're never going to be good at it. They're never going to get anywhere then if they don't start that young. So the pressure we put on each other as women is, to me, amazing and scary at the same time, because it's not the kids who are making you do it's your friends that they're the ones you're trying to keep up with, because we've set this standard for ourselves of what we had, all that stuff. You have to have a Frozen birthday party for your kid, and the next year it's whatever movie it is, and then you have to have the Elf on the Shelf, and you have to have this little St. Patrick's Day thing. My mom never did any of that, and my mom was the best mom on the planet. I mean, she was a fabulous mother. I never expected it. I think I got an Easter basket. That was it. And then Christmas, you got a stocking at Christmas. That was it. My mom didn't put any thought in it. She was busy doing her own thing. And I think that was a great example of that we are kind of now twisting and turning so that our kids are seeing us bust ourselves to do all these special things so we can create these amazing childhoods for them. But what we're forgetting is that childhood is amazing anyway. It's amazing. And part of the amazing part is they don't have to go to work. They don't have to do anything but play with their friends and maybe do a little bit of homework. They don't have to do anything. I keep telling my kids this. You're so lucky. Just enjoy it, because you don't have to do anything. And that's the magic of childhood. The magic of childhood is in them creating their own experiences and using their imagination and getting their friends together and doing these cool things, as opposed to what we've created for ourselves now as moms, is we have to basically create their childhood for them, which is insane if you think about it. Insane that we as a generation of moms and dads too. You're not off the hook, Mike. That we have created this need within ourselves to have a perfect childhood for our children. And I'm like, well, but why? I had a great childhood. I don't need to make up for anything. My kid, and I tell my kids regularly, I'm not Julie McCoy, your cruise director, which they don't get that joke. They don't get it, but I get it. And I'm like, dude, they're like, who's Julie McCoy? And I'm like, don't worry about it.
Come on now, just find an old rerun. Let them watch it.
Find an old rerun. Yeah, we can. We found Fantasy Island on some station, but not Love Boat. So that I am the opposite of that mom, and I think I'm sure some of the friends that I have are like, they probably don't. They love me anyway, but I'm not. I am now kind of the odd man out in that Dan and I, my husband and we do not entertain our children. It's like, this is your job. And if you tell me you're bored, you get to go clean the toilet, because I need that done all the time, because their toilet's nasty. So I'll give you a job. And I saw this funny quote not very long ago on Facebook or something, and it said, the last person you should tell you're bored to is the woman who's standing over the sink doing dishes for the third time that day. Like, do not tell that woman you're bored, because I'm telling you what, one, you're going to get a job, and two, she clearly has no idea how to entertain herself. So, you know what I mean? So I just take a different approach.
What about you? Like, from a dad standpoint, do you feel that way? Do you feel competition between dads?
No, I think the competition is different. I don't know. I think that's the problem with women and men, is the comparison issue. You look at everybody else and what they're doing, and then you get caught up in thinking that you have to do it when you don't. And like you were saying, Leah, it makes me wonder what our kids are going to be like if we are doing this to them now. Are they going to try and take it a step further? And is there going to, I don't know, when does it stop? You know, a lot of our friends have kids in all these sports. We've told them, you know, you can choose one. You know, they've gotten to a point where they have chosen one, at least most of them. I just think you can overschedule them in so many different ways that it's an issue. But dads, I think it's a completely different thing from moms as far as comparisons. I mean, we look at each other in a different light. You know, when you talk to guys, it's what's your job? What do you do? And they do something amazing. You're thinking, I don't do anything. You know, it's just different. It's just a different reality for guys.
Yeah,
I agree. And I think women have much more wrapped their identity up in their children for a long time, maybe forever, than men have. Because men, I think, tend to, like you said, wrap themselves more up in their job, in their career. And women tend to judge themselves based on their relationships and how healthy their relationships are. But that now, of course, is turned from the kid's standpoint into how successful my kids are. Not how good of a relationship I have with my children, but how successful my children are, and whatever that means to you. And for, unfortunately, a lot of people, it means how many trophies did they win at the, you know, at the football tournament or basketball tournament or whatever, or you know, what their grades are or whatever. And that's how we judge that relationship. We think we're a good mom because our kids get straight A's and they're the star of the basketball team, not because we have a good relationship with a kid who's a really good kid. Right. There's another quote I saw that said, behind every successful kid is a mother who thinks she's screwing it up. And I love that because it's so true. I mean, we all think we're failing, this is crazy because, I mean, I know your kids and they're awesome, but there's probably days when you think that they're all going to need therapy. Well, they may. I mean, but my kids are going to need therapy anyway. But every mom thinks she's failing, no matter how wonderful her kids are. And so I think that's what you were saying, is that we as moms tend to judge ourselves based on our kids and more on that than on what we ourselves have accomplished. You know, I said, I want to say it was Jake, when he was in 4th grade, his teacher at the beginning of the year, his teacher sent home a little questionnaire. And one of the questions was, and she was a new teacher. I didn't know who she was. And usually, you know, when you've had a few kids going through that elementary school, you know all the teachers for the most part. I didn't know this one. And so she wrote the only question I remember, there's like 3 or 4 questions. And one of them was, what do you want your child to accomplish this year? And I thought, what a weird question. And so I got really sarcastic. I tend to do this sometimes. I probably shouldn't have. I did I was being funny, but I wrote back, I want him to stay out of juvie and smell good. That was it. That's all I care about. Stay out of juvie and smell good. Because he was hitting puberty. So it was questionable about the smell at that point. Well, and the juvie was questionable. It's always questionable. And that's what I thought. The pressure that, and she wasn't trying to. She was a fantastic teacher, by the way. She was so good. But I thought, what a weird thing to put on me. What do I want for my kid? I want him to stay out of juvie. That's it. That's it. And take a shower more than once a week. That would be good. But we put this pressure on each other as women that now it's, how about ask me what I want to accomplish this year? Ask me what I want. I want the mom to say, hey, what do you want for yourself this year? That would have been an amazing question to get from a teacher. What do you want
to occupy my kid?
I'm going to babysit your kid for 6 hours a day. What are you going to do with that time?
What do you expect to accomplish, Miss Teacher?
Exactly. So I thought I will never forget that. And my answer, I think, even though I was being sarcastic and funny, was really kind of making a point that it's like, I just want my kid to be the best they can be. But that's not my job. My job as a parent is to make sure they obey the rules, right? That I keep them in line. But as far as their potential and their success, I can't be successful for my fourth grader. He has to want it. He has to work for it. He has to see the value in it. And I have always put that on them. I already did fourth grade and I got all A's. So you can what with your fourth grade, but mine worked out pretty well. There you go. Mr. Bartlett. I was like one of his favorite students. So
I had this
however that works for you. Yeah,
Well,
I mean, because I don't know how many times I have kids in high school now and one in junior high school, and how many times I've said, now my kids work hard and they're straight A students, but I've, from the beginning, said, I already did school. I'm happy to help with your homework, but I'm not doing your science fair project. I'm not doing your, you know, whatever it is. You're going to do this yourself because I already did it. And my mom never helped me with homework, not once.
You must be better than us because it seems like, I mean, Seth.
That's what I was going to say.
Seth comes home from school. Oh, I've got my science fair project that's due tomorrow. It's like, oh, okay, what are we going to do? So we have to figure something out. And then we're going and shooting things because that's the funnest thing we can figure out within a day.
Shooting things?
Oh, with an airsoft gun.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you missed the part about staying out of juvie, apparently. But I got an A on my science project. Yeah.
It was pretty funny the other day in the car. I was driving the fifth grader to the bus and I had the other kids in the car with us and they were talking all about these book reports. And I turned to Gracie and I went, oh, you haven't had a single book report all year. That's fantastic. And then I thought, what have I just said to my kid? But at the same time, I was thinking, well, she did turn to me and say, well, why shouldn't I have? And I'm like, oh, wow, they're a lot of work. And the whole time I'm saying these things, I'm thinking, what kind of an example am I setting for my kid? And it just shows the level of responsibility I'm feeling to make sure she does well on her book report, which it shouldn't be like that, right? We should let go. We aren't doing our kids' homework for them. And I should probably be excited when they are challenged rather than.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's also, we want our kids to do hard things, but I think so often because we're concerned about the grades or the things that we're not, you know, that you didn't know about until the night before, that we end up doing a lot of things for them because this is the joke about the science fair projects, right? That the one year that I did help Jake, and it was like, we were up till like 2 a.m. because the same thing, you know, he put it off. I think we even knew about it, but he just kept putting it off and putting it off. And at the end, it was a lot of screaming and a lot of tears and a lot of, you know, anxiety. He got it done. And then when he went and it was submitted, he didn't get like, I mean, he passed and he did, you know, because it's like he was required to do it by the teacher, but he didn't get like, he didn't move on, you know, to the next phase. He didn't get a trophy. And I was so mad. I was like, I worked hard on that. I should have gotten a better grade than that. Like, that's how you think. I did not get an A on that report. I worked till 2 a.m. on it. What are you talking about? Like, you really want to go back to the teacher and say, why did you give me such a bad grade?
Oh.
And of course the teacher knows that none of these kids did it, you know. And what's interesting is that, so talk about messages that you're giving. So he had a friend who did a report on, this was back in, must have been 6th grade. And his friend did a report on solar panels. Now, the funny thing is, I know his mom pretty well, and she was telling me how her husband basically forced the report on him. That's the topic he wanted to do, and he bought all the stuff. His dad basically did the entire report. It was way above a 6th grade level anyway. Like, no 6th grader even cares two crap about solar panels, right? So, or know how to put them together. They put together solar panels. So anyway, the mom admitted to me early on that it was such a joke. The dad did it. We were commiserating about science fair projects. And she said, so anyway, he won for the school. And suddenly she started talking a little different. And she's like, oh man, he's so excited about this project. He loved doing this. And it started to change the story a little bit. And then he actually won state and went to nationals. And suddenly when I talked to her, heard her talking about it to somebody else in a group we were in, she was talking about how Drew had put this together himself. He worked so hard on it. He had like totally was his idea and he was really interested in solar power. 150% different story than I had heard when it was first done. But now her son was going to nationals. And suddenly the pride that we have as moms, and now I'm a good mom because my kid is so smart, he went to nationals on his project. And I knew the story. He had not done one bit of that. Not one bit. And
that sounds a little too familiar.
Yeah. Well, and normally, like, it's done at your school level, and who cares, right? It's all over. He did it. He got through the class. It's, moved to the next grade. But this got really big because he went to, and I think he got second place at nationals. Like, it was crazy. And he had not done one bit of that. He had to go back and study solar so he could answer the questions of the judges when he got to the state. Like, and I remember thinking, this is the problem we have that we've created as moms. We've created this false idea of our own identity based in what our kids accomplish or what our kids do. And that was kind of an extreme example of that. But I thought, how many other kids are sitting there with their little awards around their necks? They didn't do one bit of that project.
Okay, so we have to get this in before we go on to the next thing. But we have to tell you how funny and how opposite it was with Seth. Because Seth, with that project, won an award and moved on to regionals. And it was at the local or county I think it was down in
Provo or something.
No, it was here. This one was here in town.
Oh.
So he was at this place where he displayed it. It wasn't at the school, but it was in town. And we had, just come off of a long time helping him prepare this thing. So we were tired and we were done. And he went out and he won, I believe, and he was going to go on. And he decided to go out. Now you have to understand Seth, and he has a wild hair too. He goes out and starts directing traffic in the middle of the street, like for no reason. Goes walking out in the middle of the street and starts directing traffic. Well, somebody saw him, and
one of the teachers, right?
One of the teachers came out, disqualified him. We were like, yes, because we didn't want to go on the stage. Anyway, we need to move on from the whole science fair. We're getting a comment. Let's read this. This is from our viewer, Dan. Hi, Dan. My fourth grade didn't start very well, but ended up okay. My teacher sang in front of the class every day with an out-of-tune guitar. My mom had me tested, and then I got moved up to fifth grade.
Nice.
I love that, Daniel. That's awesome. You're lucky that you didn't have to keep going.
Yeah, they kept moving back. I got moved down to second grade from fifth grade, so... Yeah.
Anyway, back to the overwhelm, right? So what do we need? Like, what are some things that we as moms and dads can do to help ourselves with that overwhelm? Because, unfortunately, not everyone comes to our rescue. So we're going to have to do that ourselves. So what are some things that you found that have helped you?
From a global standpoint, I think the best thing you can do is learn the word no. Period. Just learn how to say no. And it is so hard. You probably think, I think people think they can. Women think they're good at it. They're terrible. Women are terrible at this. And probably the first people you need to say no to are your children, right? They're the ones we practice on. Say no to your kids. And no in a loving way. It's not that I don't love you, but this is, like I said to my kids, I don't entertain my kids. I never have. That if they come in and say, I'm bored, they get a job. They don't get me to sit down and, play some video game with them or whatever. Their job as kids is to be kids and to be self-entertaining and to find ways to entertain themselves. So saying no is, I think, paramount in helping you get control of your time and your life. And I don't mean to say no to everything, because of course we never would, but knowing how to say no to things that you're not really, that you either don't have the time or you don't have the energy or you don't have the desire to do. And knowing that saying no doesn't mean I don't love you, which is often what we feel like. That when we say no to our kids or to our friends or to, whoever, that it means I don't love you and they're going to take it that way. And that's not what it means. It never means that. It just means I can't do this for you right now, or it's not something that, I remember watching Oprah once talk about it, that was the greatest life lesson she learned was how to say no. And you can imagine if you're Oprah, like you must get asked 1,000 times a day to do a million different things. So, and learning that saying no is not saying I don't love you. And so saying no is the first key, I think, learning how to say no and practicing that when you need to. And then the other thing I think that a lot of women struggle with is being organized. And I don't mean organize your house, which of course that's awesome too. But I mean organized in having systems set up that help you keep everything under control. Because whether we like it or not, whether we work full time or we're stay-at-home moms, we are basically in control of the schedule of the house and all the kids and everything. So What we do is once a week, we have a planning meeting with our kids. And we do it Sunday night because we like to start the week out, right, knowing what everyone's doing. And I get out my big calendar. So I have a big family, it's my calendar on my desk, but we put all the family stuff on it. So I know who's got to be when, where, who's got a doctor's appointment, who's got a soccer game, who's got, well, my kids don't play soccer, but your kids do. So who's got soccer games, who's got a, whatever, that's an appointment or something that has to be, you can't skip out on, something that has to be done. And I don't just do it for the week. We try and get everything on the calendar as soon as we know about it. So if we know about the dates of Scout Camp, that goes on the week, that goes on back in July right now. So I know as I'm planning things for the year, what's already there. Having that meeting once a week, even though it was kind of a hassle in the beginning to get the kids to all sit down and contribute, has really been a game changer, because now I feel like starting out the week, everyone's on the same page. I can find out who's got reports due that week, who's got, where are they at their schoolwork, what are they behind in. Now, I'm not going to help them with it, but at least I can keep saying, hey, have you caught up with that? Right. And I don't find out the night before that someone has a book report due or someone has whatever. So having that weekly meeting can help everyone feel like they're more in control of their schedule. It's also a great thing to teach your kids that right. These things don't just happen naturally. They don't just happen by magic. It happens because I am keeping track of what everyone has to do and coordinating. It's not so bad because my 16-year-old can drive now, but when he couldn't drive, it was worse because I had to make sure he got to his place and, got to work or got to wherever. And that weekly meeting really saved us. So it doesn't mean that you're not checking in the rest of the week, but at least it means that you have something to start the week with that okay, I'm kind of in control. Because as you know, the week's going to go crazy. At some point, you're going to feel like you're not in control anymore. But at least if you start every week, every Sunday, you go, okay, let's sit down and talk about what we need to do this week. Then it also gets the whole family involved, so mom doesn't feel like it's all on her. And I tell my kids, if you didn't tell me, that's not my problem, because we have a meeting once a week, and that's when you tell me what's going on. We also at that time do meal planning for the week, which I have not always been good at. But I will tell you, when there's a meal plan sitting there on the fridge, I'm the mom who like at 5 o'clock goes, oh man, there's no dinner and everything's frozen. Okay, let's go to McDonald's. Well, we don't eat McDonald's, but you know what I mean? Like that's when you start falling into those traps of
right.
And as a mom, that's my overwhelm. I feel like every night, it's a lot of cooking you do in your child's lifetime. Holy moly. It's like crazy numbers of meals you have to prepare.
Those meals before. I've tried to calculate that. How many meals?
Crazy. And that's a huge, we're professional chefs, if you think about it. Like we work as much as a chef at a restaurant. So we're not always good at it, but when I do the meal planning for the week, and so what we do now, my kids are older, they all have a meal night and they pick the dinner that night. And then they have to help cook that night. So we're killing two birds with one stone there. One is we are getting help that's scheduled on the, it's interesting because if my kid knows his dinner night is Tuesday for that week, he's willing to come in and help. But if I go in on a week we haven't planned meals and I say, hey, Logan, come help me. Oh, the grief I get, I can't even tell you. Like, seriously, what's the difference? But for them, it's a difference. So I have to drag them kicking and screaming in, and that becomes a big fight. So when I've planned out the meals, they have to pick the meal for their night, and they have to be there in the kitchen the whole time helping. For Alex, my oldest, who's disabled, for him it means setting the table. But he's still there. And he might run down to the garage and get something out of the freezer, or put things away after I've done making them. They all have that night. They all get one night a week when they help with dinner. The other thing that we're getting out of that is they're learning how to cook. And they're learning that, guess what? This meal doesn't just plan itself and just end up on the table. It's a lot of work. And so hopefully in the process, it's teaching them gratitude. Yeah. And so when you think about, when you think about the overwhelm that moms feel, a lot of it comes from lack of gratitude from those around you who just take advantage. The meal just showed up there. I'm sure it was just there automatically, right? And they don't appreciate it. And I think as moms, what we want more than anything is appreciation. We just want to know that what we're doing is for something. And we don't get that a lot. So by setting up these systems of having your kid, even if they're little, I don't care how little your kid is, they can come in, get a step stool, stand there on the counter and help you put things in a bowl or whatever. But when they start seeing the work that you're doing every night, and my husband cooks as much as I do, so he actually takes half the nights with one of the, whichever kid's night that is. And we switch the nights up depending on who's got what going on that week. So if someone has something going on a Wednesday night, well, they can't do it on Wednesday. We'll give them a different night. So they don't have the same night every week. And you can work it what works best for your family. But by having that little system in place, it not only has taught them gratitude and a work ethic and how to cook, it also has taken some pressure off of me. Yeah. So I can say, hey, Jake, Jake and Logan are fantastic cooks now and great in the kitchen. They can do half the work themselves. So now I've freed up myself to not have this pressure and resentment from having to put a meal on every single night. And they've benefited from that too. So that we do that on Sunday night. The meal planning for the week has the weeks that we don't do it, those are not good weeks for meals. We end up eating out a lot those weeks because I don't think about it till 5:30. And then it's too late to make anything. Yeah. So, Dan makes a run to, get pizza or something. And then I feel like a failure. It's a cycle that is so unhealthy.
And I think that's a really important part a really important point is that we feel like a failure. And I think that is actually, unfortunately, a common part of motherhood, is feeling like a failure.
Yeah.
And by putting things in place like you're talking about, it helps us feel more successful. Were you going to say something?
I was going to say, being a parent's a pretty thankless job anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
It really is. And
but I'm amazed at how much we build that into it, Mike. I'm serious. I've seen my own friends where it's like, I see the way that they let their children speak to them and they let their children behave. And I'm like, well, what did you think was going to happen? Of course that's going to happen. And the thing is, as you know, because you have teenagers now, it doesn't get better. It gets worse. So, I mean, we all hope, because all of our kids are still at home. We hope someday when they're gone and they have their own kids, they learn to appreciate what we had to do for them, that will change. But I'm not that patient. I'm not waiting until you have your own kids to figure out how hard this is. So you're going to get in there and do it with me.
Well, I think that's important too, because when they become a parent, not only will they turn back and be grateful for us, but I want them to be prepared. I don't want them to be like, what?
This
and
is so
have
hard.
a terrible, learning curve. Aren't we here to teach our kids how to be adults? We are. We need to teach them how to be independent. And so we need to make them realize that these things are hard.
Yeah. And I know that what moms want more than I know women enough. I know myself enough to know that is the one thing I want, is to be appreciated. Like I said, it's to be appreciated, to know that the work I'm doing is just being blindly accepted and taken advantage of. But that is something you have to teach your children. Children are naturally takers for the most part. There's a few, every kid's different, and there's some exceptions. And we have kind of the range in our house. There are some that are really good at giving, and some are really good at taking. And so you're dealing with, no matter how many kids you have, very diverse personalities. And so every kid obviously somewhat has to have their own sort of program as far as how you're dealing with their personality. But there are some absolutely no dicker stickers in our house. And one of those is the whining. We have zero tolerance for whining. And so, because to me, that's the ultimate ingratitude, right? If you're whining about something, you are ingrateful. And so, and as a mom, I know that nothing irks me more than feeling like all the work I do, most of which isn't even seen. You guys know how this goes. Most of the work you do, your kids, they're gone. They don't even see it. How many times I clean the house, if somebody whines about having to do their job that week, which might be doing the dishes, I'm like, too many times I've already done the dishes today before you even got home from school. I did half of your job. And guess what? Now you just got another job, because clearly you didn't appreciate the work I've already done for you. So now you get to go clean the toilet. I love that one. Because that's what I hate doing worse than anything. Have you seen? I have 3 boys using the same toilet. It's disgusting. Beyond disgusting. So I sometimes teach them in the bathroom. But it's what you accept, right? We have a zero tolerance for whining in our house. And so there's very little whining. And when there's whining, it's an instant consequence. You either go to your room, or you go to the bathroom and clean the bathroom, or whatever. Because to me, what I'm supposed to teach my kids ultimately is how to be decent citizens of society, right? How to go out in the world and be good people. And a big part of that is appreciating what other people do for you all the time. And I always look at my boys and I think, I am raising a husband, and boy, their wife better be grateful. because I'm telling you, I do not let them get away with anything when it comes to how they treat me. I'm the only woman in my house. They don't have any sisters like yours has 3. So he's got lots of experience with women. But my boy's and my husband Dan has been really, really good at showing that they will learn, if nothing else, they will learn to respect me and respect the women in their lives and treat them with utmost gratitude and utmost respect and whatnot, and he has zero tolerance if they don't. I mean, then they have to deal with him, because that's, to me, ultimately what the goal is, right? Is to help them go out in the world and be good fathers and good, or mothers if they're daughters, good people, good workers, good co-workers, good friends, right? That's what you need. Whether or not they're they got an A on the science fair or they're the star of the basketball team, ultimately that won't matter, although that teaches them good skills, and that's important if that's what your kid wants to do. It's not ultimately what makes them good at relationships. And so,
I honestly pray for who my kids, I don't just say that, I just pray for who my kids will marry. I actually pray for who my kids will marry. And I'll bet you that there are some people out there doing the same thing about the spouses that their kids will marry that may be ours. If that makes any sense if I said that right. But, I want to make sure that I'm raising them to respect those people. And Mike's so good at that. Like, he grew up with sisters. He is so good with women. And it's good because he has 3 daughters and a wife and a son to teach him how to be. And so I really think that's super important.
Also, you're the one who benefits. So overwhelmed moms, if your kids are just nice kids and they're good to people and they're good to you, and you've taught them and demanded of them that respect and that kindness and that generosity from them, it makes your life easier while they're there, while they're in your house. My life's not perfect and my kids are not perfect, but we've set those boundaries from the very beginning. Yeah. So if someone gets sent to the room for whining, they are certainly not shocked. Although sometimes they still seem to be. But I'm like, are you kidding? Did you just show up to this party? Like, it's the same result every single time you do it.
Show up.
Hello. Did you just show up? And so I'm nothing else. If I could say anything about my parenting style, it cannot be called surprising. It has always been consistent. And that, I think, is what's key in keeping the overwhelm, at least from your parenting standpoint, a little bit easier to control, is if you are at least predictable. So your kids know what to expect. When they do something wrong, this is what's going to happen. If they forget their report till the day before, guess what? Good luck with that. Have fun.
Right.
Explaining that to your teacher. But that's how it's always been. It's like, I'm not here to carry you. I'm here to lift you up. And it's not the same thing. But a lot of parents today confuse that with their kids and with their friends and with their coworkers and their whoever, all the people in your life. You're not here to carry them. You're here to lift them up. And it's 2 very different things.
I think sometimes you actually have to let your kids fail.
Oh, yeah.
And quite often it seems to be, and that's when they learn less than the best, is when they actually have to go through it and figure it out, because we're going through that right now with one of our kids. And
yep,
that individual, without giving away, if it doesn't turn out the way he hopes, it's going to be a really, really hard lesson for him or her.
You know who we're talking about.
That was very clandestine, Mike. That was very secret. Yeah, but honestly, if you look back at life, both as a kid and as an adult, we've all been through this. Sometimes we learn more from failure than anything else, right? If you can learn from it and then change and grow, which is what we want our kids to do and what we want to do ourselves. I failed at business before. I'm still here. I'm still working. I'm still moving forward. Yep. But that failure often is the better lesson. And if you can teach your kid and help them to sit back and evaluate it and say, hey, how are you going to keep this from happening next time? Hopefully that's ultimately building people who are resilient, because life is hard and lots of crap happens that you sometimes are in control of and sometimes you're not. But if you are resilient and you learn from your failure and you learn how to do something better next time, that's the whole goal, right? So, but that's hard for parents. I give you credit because it's hard. It's hard to watch your kid fail. It's not just because you take it on yourself and you feel like it's your own, you're judging yourself about it, but also because you love this child and you want this child to be happy and succeed, and letting them fail is probably the hardest thing we do as parents. And I don't think, honestly, that enough parents do it. I don't think enough parents let their kids fail and deal with the consequences.
When I used to work in the insurance industry, I saw a lot of parents that would bail their kids out of almost everything: tickets, accidents. It was never their fault. And they had a lot of problems with their kids. And those kids went on and had even more problems. And I saw it all the time. Yeah. And it's interesting what happens when you don't allow your kids to take responsibility for their own actions. So.
Well, what happens is that they're not responsible, right? If you don't take responsibility, you cannot therefore be responsible. And that's, of course, ultimately what we want as parents who are just trying to put good people on the planet and keep them good. That's really interesting from your business standpoint that you saw that, because I'm not surprised, but it's really sad that a lot of these were probably older kids or even adult kids that they're still bailing out. And unless you want that job for the rest of your life, and I don't know about you, but I sure don't. I'm too tired. I'm going to retire to Italy. I don't have time to bail my kid out of his traffic ticket. It's like, these need to be done at 18 so I can move on. Yeah. And that's what a lot of parents fall into, that though, that you've created a monster, so to speak. Not that kids are monsters, but you know what I mean? You've created this scenario where if you're always bailing them out, you will always be bailing them out. And I don't know about other parents, but I don't want that responsibility. That's way too tiring. That's way too much money. That's way too much stress to put on myself. And we already have that stress. So back to your question about what can you do to, stop the overwhelm. That's one of them right there. Stop being responsible for everybody else's failure. It's just worry about your own failures, because I'm sure we have plenty, right? Oh, yeah. I worry about my own, and then I let everyone else worry about theirs. And where I can help reasonably, I will. But the ability to fail gracefully and learn from it is the most important life lesson you'll ever learn. And you'll learn it over and over again. And that's how we get better. And anyone who's successful in business, Mike, this, anyone who's successful in business will tell you how many times they failed. Like bucket loads of times, over and over and over again in some cases. Right. And so that's something that you have to stop taking on yourself, is to fix everybody's failures. Right. And that's a hard thing to do. The other thing I would say from an overwhelm standpoint is to definitely schedule time for yourself, which is something most women are really, really bad at. Even though we know we should, and we hear it from all the professionals, and we know that it's important, we still don't do it. Right. And that's something that I'm not always good at, but when I am being good at it, I feel better. I know that for a fact. Right. So whether it's like planning regular girls' nights out with your girlfriends to go to dinner, whether it's just taking some time. I'm not as good at this, but my husband is really good at this. He takes time in the morning. He actually gets up earlier than the kids do. I'm not a morning person, so that's really hard for me. But he gets up specifically a half an hour earlier, so he has that time to himself. And he meditates, and he gets himself some breakfast, and he just has a half an hour. And he said that's his favorite time of day, because he just, before the day starts, he can kind of collect his thoughts and just, take time for himself. And if I can figure out how to get myself out of bed as early as he does, maybe I'll do it. But whenever the time is, for me, it's more in the evening. Once everyone's gone to bed, then I have my time to just read a book or, spend whatever I figure out to do. Sometimes I actually I'll go to bed I like to read in bed before I go to sleep. And, but sometimes I actually won't even pick up the book that's on my bedside table. I'll just sit there just quietly. I guess it's kind of like meditating. And I'll just sit there and just enjoy the moment of everything quiet, and I'm in my warm bed, and the day is over, and there's a real huge amount of peace that you can allow, if you allow yourself to feel it, because often we don't. We're just so crazy. That's really enjoyable. I guess it's like meditating, so that's what it is. But it's just thinking about the day and not being worried, just being, oh man, I got that done, or man, this is just such a great time to be just in this warm bed, and I think about all my blessings, and I have this great house to live in, and my kids are healthy, and everyone. I have a 16-year-old driver now, so every night I'm grateful that someone did not get in a car accident. It's like, I sit there and actually think about it. I'm like, I'm so grateful that another day everyone is alive and healthy. I have a nice house to live in. I have great friends. I have a business that I'm loving. You know what I mean? But we don't take the time as women to just sit and enjoy it. We're so busy doing it all that we don't enjoy it.
Well, what's interesting too is that sometimes it's so hard to do that you actually have to schedule an away time, make yourself go somewhere.
Yep.
And that can be really hard, especially when your kids are little people. But we weren't that great. Well, our dates, we would go on dates, but they would be to the TV room and popcorn and watch a movie when our kids were little. But that was alone time where I could think but even just personally, like me as a mom, just leaving, like even scheduling a few days and leaving, because the perspective that you get away from home and away from them is so rewarding. It blesses their lives even more than if you would have been there for those 2 or 3 days, you know, it just really does, because you come home with a different focus, with more patience, with more love for them, because you haven't been in the thick of it for so long.
Sometimes you have to get out of the situation to see it differently. So
Absolutely.
Important.
It reminds me of you. I think it was last year you went to an awesome retreat or a conference really, that you wanted to go to and then you didn't want to go to. So tell us about that and what it did for you in this respect, as getting away and being good for you.
Yeah. And I wish I was better. I'm actually pretty good at it. I do try and go away, and there's a difference in going away as a couple, which you should also do, whether that's a date night or whether that's an actual trip for a weekend or something. That's really, really important for your marriage, to take that time for yourself, whatever it takes to deal with your kids and get them babysitters or grandma comes in or whatever. But I think it's just as important for women to take time away for themselves. And there's 2 different benefits that come from those. So I went last year, I had a ticket to go to a blogging conference, and I don't know, I was kind of frustrated with my blog at that point, and I didn't really think it was going to get me, you know, 3 days away, and not that I cared about, you know, it wasn't that my kids are older, so I didn't have that issue, but it was costing money, and I could still sell the ticket at that point, and it was going to be a 2.5 days away from whatever I thought I was going to get accomplished at home for work. And so I was just hemming and hawing about it. And I didn't know anyone who was going. I wasn't going with a girlfriend or anybody I knew. So that was part of it probably too, because it was out of the comfort zone, right? If you're going with friends, I would have probably not had a problem with it. But anyway, so I was hemming and hawing right up to the last minute, and I didn't sell my ticket. So in time, because I couldn't really decide what to do. And so I finally decided at the last minute just to go. And it was interesting, because I think what I said a while ago about how the most important thing you can do as a mom to help the overwhelm is learn how to say no. The second thing you need to do is learn how to say yes at the right time for the right thing. And usually it's something you don't want to do. So that's kind of mixed messages there. And I'm giving like kind of conflicting information. But a lot of times the things that I want to say no to are the things that are for me. Because I feel like that's going to, I should be spending time, I got a house to clean, or I have, work at home to do, or whatever. We're putting other people first. If you can say yes to yourself and things that will ultimately be beneficial to you, you in the long run will benefit everybody in your life. So I ended up going to this conference, and in fact, interestingly, and I won't get into the whole story because it's kind of a long story, but that was sort of a weekend of saying yes to things I wanted to say no to. And the first one was, the conference started on Friday, but the night before, some people were getting together on the Facebook group of this conference. People were getting together for dinner. And I was originally going to go just to meet some new people, because I didn't know anybody at the conference. And that day I was like, I don't want to go. I'm just tired, and I have a blog post to do, and I'm just going to skip it and just show up Friday morning for the conference. And my husband came in and said, no, you're going. Just go. You need to get out. He probably in a nice way was saying, you're being cranky, go. I'm sure it was something like that. But because he knows how much better I feel when I go and do stuff for myself. Right. So he finally talked me into it. And so I just dropped everything. I went and got ready really fast, got in the car. It's about an hour drive to the conference. So I jumped in the car and met up these women for dinner. And there's about 25 of them. I ended up in that dinner sitting next to 2 women who now are 2 of my closest friends, and my blogging companions. They're my mastermind group. And one of them actually invited me to stay in her hotel room. I wasn't going to stay in a hotel because my mother-in-law lives nearby, so I was going to go stay with her overnight and save the money on the hotel room. But she had a hotel room that she invited me with another blogger to come stay in her hotel room. Anyway, we had the best time, and through her I met one of the girls who was teaching at the conference, who's an online marketing expert. And I went to her class and met her and ended up working with her in business. I mean, all these things happened because I was able to say, I need a moment for myself. I need to take care of myself. I need to go to this conference. I'm going to say yes when I want to say no to this dinner. Who cares? What's going to happen? It's just a dinner. So many things changed that weekend for me because I said yes when I wanted to say no. And there was a ripple effect that went on for the whole next year. That's still going on today.
Wow.
I'm still friends with those two women and several other really good, close blogging friends because of it. I'm still working with that marketing director on some businesses. So, I mean, I look back and think, what if I had said no to that dinner? It was just for me. It wasn't, I didn't think I was going to get anything out of it other than meeting a couple of people that I probably wouldn't even stay in touch with, and who cares? Because my husband pushed me to go and take care of myself and recharge myself. I can see now all of the ripple effect of that and how it has brought me to where I am now with my business and with my social people that I know in my social life that I love dearly. So it was a really good lesson to me that even though I'm pretty good at self-care, in that moment I wasn't. My husband needed to push me to do it and to say, this is what you need for yourself. Not because we had no idea where it was going to end up benefiting us from a business standpoint. I could never have foreseen that. But he just knew that I am a happier, more secure, peaceful person when I take time for me. And so the ripple effect of the business benefits that came from that was just a huge reminder of how life works, right? When you take care of yourself and you take care of the things that you need, you're better able to help others, and including your kids, including your spouse, including your friends and family.
Well, especially when they're really your top priority. They're what comes first. And that's kind of that whole experience of going away, not only hearing your experience, but I've had many of those times where I've gone and been so glad I went. It's really God-given a lot of times, where those were exactly the people I needed to meet. That's the exact message I needed to hear. And I attribute it to God. Absolutely. I believe that he has a part in everything in our lives. And so we created this retreat where we want women to come, tired and overwhelmed moms, to come separate a little bit from home for 2 or 3 days. It's actually 3 days. And feel calm, to relax, to feel joy, to learn some things that they can take home to make their lives easier. You talked about, organizing and systems in your life and how to be consistent. And there's so many things that we can learn about that we don't give ourselves time to learn about in everyday life, right? We don't have time to sit down and watch something on one of those topics, or how to say no. By the way, I have this awesome worksheet thing on saying no. Well, I wouldn't say worksheet. You don't really work through it. It's like a flyer that a friend made me to teach me how to say no. So I'm going to have to find it and show it to you. But we created a retreat called From Chaos to Connection. And we really believe in the message. And we hope that anyone that is interested will go to our website on infusethehappy.com. And then there's a little retreat tab at the top. And it'll tell you all about it. It is coming up soon, here in just a month, in April, in Park City, Utah, which is a gorgeous mountain town. And it is well known and has some yummy food and amazing views. So we'd hope that you'd consider that. And Leah, of course, will be there with us. She'll be teaching some things there. And we hope that you'll really give yourself a chance to see what is out there for you, and to see what God has in store with who you meet, just like Leah was saying, and what you learn and what you can take back to your family to help your kids, right? I mean, what we're trying to do is, in general, all of us as parents are just trying to strengthen our families, right? Make them happier and better and more independent, and everything that we are hoping for, we can make it a reality. So
100%, but only if you do something about it. And that's what I love about what you're trying to do, is we all have chaos. And it's not like you can ever get rid of all the chaos, but you can definitely control it and learn how to live peaceably within it, and control a lot of it. I mean, a lot of the chaos happens because we don't have the systems in place, or we don't know how to, take the hard edges off. And I think the most important thing is having, for women anyway, is giving yourself the freedom to take that time for yourself, and knowing that ultimately your family and your friends and your coworkers, whoever, are all going to amazingly benefit from you being more centered. and you having a connection,
Right.
and you knowing how to create those connections and sustain those connections without sacrificing yourself. And that's what I think most of us do, is we sacrifice ourselves in order to have those connections, and we don't have to. You just have to know the tools and the tricks and the methods, which they will learn at this retreat. They need to just have those things in place and have a support system
Right.
that can help you keep going when you just want to throw in the towel. And I've been there. I know how that feels when you feel like you're all alone in the world, even though you're surrounded by a whole bunch of people. and
even like missing your family and they're in the other room because you've mentally checked out.
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah,
done.
Yeah, and it's not about being perfect. In that, it's the opposite of being perfect. It's about being real and about being realistic and about being a lot easier on yourself. I think that we're so hard. No one is harder on us as women than we are. We are the hardest on ourselves. And
Right.
learning how to let some of that go. And the first step to me is saying, I'm worth taking care of. I'm worth some time for myself. I'm worth figuring out the systems and the tricks and the and making those connections so that this chaos doesn't have to stay chaotic. You know,
Right.
like I said, you never get rid of all the chaos, but the chaos can become the background noise. It doesn't have to be the foreground noise, which it is for most of us most of the time. So I love that you're doing this, because I don't know a woman who doesn't need it. I don't know anybody who could not use a weekend to themselves, learning some fabulous tricks and tools and programs that can help you go home and just do life better, and
Right.
do life happier, and do life peaceful, and do life successful, regardless of what the world is telling you is success, but knowing that success is about how you feel inside and what
Right.
you put on yourself. That's what success is. It's not what my neighbor is doing or what the TV is telling me to do, or whatever. It's in your heart, and that comes from above. That doesn't come from some strange arbitrary measuring stick. That comes from the peace you feel from connecting with your family on a real level, with your friends on a real level, and with God ultimately, right, on a real level, and knowing how that feels. We just lose that so easily, and so this weekend, I'm excited, because I know that that's what you're helping people get back to, is the real connections, not the
Right.
ones that we think are important.
So the weekend in April, when you said this weekend, I'm like, what? Is it
Sorry,
really?
not this weekend. I wish. I wish.
Of course.
Woo! All yours is.
No pressure.
No pressure felt. I can say
I wish it was every weekend. Seriously, we need this every
no.
weekend.
I'm going to say no to this weekend.
That's good. See, you're practicing.
Yes, to April 14th through the 16th. But everything you said is just so beautiful and so pertinent and so perfect to end actually this Blab on, because you nailed it. So thank you for everything you've said, and for being one of our besties in life, and for being so awesome in all that you do. You're a great example, and we're so glad you're a part of this. Thank you.
Thanks, Leah.
Can't imagine. I can't wait. It's gonna be awesome.
Yay. Okay. Well, we'll see you soon. Again, check the notes if you're interested in our retreat, infusethehappy.com/retreats. The retreat tab there on the website. So yeah, we're switching over websites too. So if you go right now, it might be a different one than when you go tonight. We're hoping today the switch will make, and then it will make a whole lot more sense. So thank you again for being here, Leah, and to everyone else who's watching. So take care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.